Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Garden of Sports. We're glad you joined us today. I'm your host, Zach Gardner, alongside Jake Gardner.
Hey.
And today we have our breakdown of the NHL Week 6 action for your fantasy leagues. So we have a lot to get to, like top performers, injury news, storylines, buy lows and sell highs, best and worst schedules, streaming options, and of course, scoop 'em up. So let's jump in.
Yeah.
So I'll start us off with top performers at center for the week. So we got a surprise, Connor McDavid, number one with 26.5 fantasy points. And then the young Trevor Zegras with 19 fantasy points. We'll be talking about him later. Nazem Kadri, 18.5 fantasy points. Poopy Roopy Heinz, 17.5 fantasy points.
What?
And then Elias Lindholm, 17.25 fantasy points.
Yeah, left wing, Leon Draisaitl, 29 fantasy points. Jake Gunsel, 23.75 fantasy points. Andrew Mangiapane, 23.75 fantasy points. Johnny Hockey, 23 fantasy points. Alex Ovechkin, 21.5. So no real surprises there, right? Maybe Mangiapane?
Mangiapane, yeah, he's a bit of a surprise, but he's a good player though. A lot of people
we've heard of him before. I mean,
a lot of people picking him for like a breakout candidate for this season. Then right wing, kind of a definite surprise, number one right wing this week. Garnett Hathaway, 28 fantasy points, and this is in our league, which is a more of a banger league. So he gets a ton of hit points, and he just had a great week, averaging 7 hits a game this week. Then number two, Matthew Tkachuk, 18.25 fantasy points. Tom Wilson, 16.75 fantasy points, bit of a surprise. Matt Duchene, 16.25 fantasy points. And then Timo Meier and Tyler Toffoli, 14.25 fantasy points. So good on you if you have hung on to Tyler Toffoli. He had a great week.
Jeez. All right. Defense. Wow. John Carlson back to form, and Zach Werenski, 26.5 fantasy points, tied for first. Cale Makar, 25 fantasy points. Victor Hedman, 24.25 fantasy points. Martin Fahervary?
I think it's Fairvary.
22.5 fantasy points. Essie Lindell, 19.25 fantasy points.
Then we have our goalies. A lot of surprises this week. Jacob Markstrom went off with 28.5 fantasy points. Really big surprise, Scott Wedgwood with 24.25 fantasy points. And we're recording this on Sunday morning, so Scott Wedgwood plays today, so there's a chance that he could actually finish as the number one goalie this week. Because he's the only one of these guys that is playing today. And then Elias Samsonov, 24 fantasy points. Tristan Jarry, 23.25 fantasy points. And Jack Campbell, 23 fantasy points. And Jack Campbell's kind of consistently been making these lists. He definitely is proving my thoughts at the beginning of the season that Peter Mrazek was going to take over as the number one goalie. I mean, Mrazek can't do that when he's on IR, so... and then Jack Campbell's playing this well. Mrazek's a backup, and I'm just shocked because he's at how his career's gone. He's such a talented goalie, but he can just never consistently stay on the ice. But that's all the top performers. So hopefully you had some of these guys and got some easy dubs. Like I know somebody in one of our leagues that actually has John Carlson and Zach Werenski on the same team, and I mean. He easily won his week. I mean, what a lucky guy that is. And yes, I'm talking about me.
My God.
So, yeah, Jake, how's that? You got any thoughts on that?
Just that my team got cold right in the right time for you, but my team would be hot at the right time for me in the playoffs when it matters. So.
All right, so now we're going to move on over to injury news. We have a lot, so I'm just going to fly through these. So Alexander Barkov, he's week to week with a left knee injury, but it won't require surgery. But week to week, that could either be 1 week or 5 weeks. So just hopefully he can be back soon. He's a top 20 player when he's in. So that's kind of a big loss. And then Darnell Nurse in our league, he's the number one defenseman. He's gonna miss 2 to 3 weeks, and he's nursing a broken finger right now.
Oh my god!
Hopefully,
Jesus Christ!
Hopefully he can be back soon. Right, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean I'm a big fan of him, and that sucks, but he'll be fine. I mean, he'll be good.
Yeah, I mean Darnell Nurse might be the best player in our league. Because we have defensive points and we're a banger league, so we got hits and blocks points. And Darnell Nurse is that player that, if you're in a banger league, he's the player you look for because he's a guy that can score points and he gets a ton of hits and blocks points, and so he's just overkill. So missing him, I mean, that's definitely gonna your team's gonna take a hit for sure. But then, anyways, moving on, we got Alec Martinez on IR with a face laceration. That looked like a very bad one too. I mean, he's going to miss some time for sure. Needed stitches. Shea Theodore out with a head injury. This is big because he was starting to break out of his little beginning of the season slump. Drake Batherson, leading scorer on Ottawa, on COVID IR. The whole team's on COVID IR, by the way. And then Jonathan Marchessault in COVID protocol. Ryan Pulock out 4 to 6 weeks with a lower body injury. Jared Spurgeon day-to-day with a lower body injury. Anders Lee in COVID protocol. Mike Hoffman on IR with an upper body injury. And then Ryan Ellis, he's back on IR with a lower body injury. He will miss 4 to 6 weeks, but it won't require surgery. This one's a little bit more concerning because he was out already for 9 games, came back, I think, on Wednesday, and he played the whole game, and then he re-injured that same injury, and now it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks again. That's just not boding well for him, and he's such a good player. That's just really unfortunate. Max Comtois had surgery on his hand. He will miss 6 weeks. And then Jack Hughes, this one kind of sucks because it was boding well for him. It was all positive news talking about how he's going to be back soon. But now that's just not trending in the right direction. Victor Olofsson is on IR with an undisclosed injury, so don't know what that's all about. But that's typical for Buffalo. They don't tell you what guys are out with. Bowen Byram day-to-day with a concussion. And then JT Compher, we announced announced his injury last week, and we just didn't know what exactly it was or how long he would miss. They initially had him as day-to-day, but now he's going to miss a month with an upper body injury, so adjust your lineups accordingly. Anthony Beauvillier is in COVID protocol, and then Josh Bailey's in COVID protocol. And then Kevin Hayes came back, started his season, came back from his injury, and then he played 2 games and then re-aggravated his injury, and is now day-to-day, so we just got to see if they release anything else on that, if he's going to miss more time or if he's just going to be back in a couple games. And then Mike Smith, this week was placed on long-term IR with his leg injury, so it's not looking good like he's going to be back anytime soon, and those are the injuries. Anything to add, Jake?
The injuries? No.
Any concerns, comments?
No.
All right, I just got 2 talking points for storylines. One of the biggest storylines of this last week, the Ottawa Senators, they had 3 games postponed because they have a COVID outbreak among the team. So we haven't really seen this since the start of COVID, over a year ago. So I'm just wondering, is this something we should be concerned about, or is this just going to be a one-off thing and they'll be back, in a few games, and then. But is this going to be a thing that's happening in at least the NHL?
I mean, if it's only one team right now and they already got it squared away, I think it'll be fine.
Okay, I just thought it was worth mentioning because a lot of people are under the assumption that this whole COVID thing is over, but here we are with this again, teams postponing games. I mean, that's just it's a
I
little
don't think
concerning.
anyone thinks it's over. I mean,
Yeah,
players are
but I didn't think
missing games in every league.
players are missing games, but there hasn't been like
COVID.
teams postponing stuff.
Yeah, well, I would guess that NHL has. Well, no, NHL was the one who everyone had a vaccine, so I guess the vaccine.
And
Oh no,
it is
no,
a
they didn't.
Canadian team too.
Oh, that's why it is then, because the other restrictions in Canada.
Yeah, that's probably why it is, but it's a little concerning because I mean, there's a lot of good players that are having breakout seasons on Ottawa and missing 3 games. That's points, that's affecting fantasy leagues. It's just unfortunate,
Mm-hmm.
but is one of those things that is what it is, and hopefully it's done and over with. And then Anaheim Ducks for another week continue taking the league by storm with some renaissance years paired with some young breakout stars. And once again, we ask the question, do you think this is sustainable?
Yes.
I think I'm starting to come around that it is. I mean, Ryan Getzlaff, you can make the argument, is possibly a Hall of Fame player when he's done. He's had a great career, won a Stanley Cup, and been on deep playoff runs a lot of years. Just having a resurgent year. And these young guys, Troy Terry and Trevor Zegras, really making their future look bright. I think this could be a season-long thing, and I mean, no one would have guessed that, but they're playing great hockey.
Oh yeah. No, they're not slowing down. And Troy Terry, dude, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, Troy Terry, man, rookie of the year.
He's a rookie.
Yeah.
I thought you said he came up last year. Okay.
No, Trevor Zegras came up last year. This Troy Terry just came up this year. He's 19.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, he's here to stay. I think he's looking like a superstar.
Nice.
Yeah, so those are our 2 storylines. I mean, get Anaheim Ducks players in your lineups. I mean, geez, who would have thought I'd be saying that 5 weeks, 6 weeks in? But pick up those young Ducks.
Oh my god.
So now we'll move on to some trade talk. I got 3 buy low candidates here. Some of them we've mentioned before.
Droppable.
Buy lows, and you might be, like Jake said, you might be able to get this guy off the waiver wire, but if you want to trade for him, you would not have to give up very much at all. Jonathan Taves. He's going to rebound from this bad start. There's no way he's not. He is playing good hockey. If you watch the games, he's winning 60% of his faceoffs. He's getting in on the forecheck like he always doing the stuff he always does. He's just not filling up the stat sheet. Which is it's gonna start happening. There's no way it's not. And just get him in your lineups, trade for him, get him off the waivers, whatever you need to do, and just hold him on your bench for a little while. He's gonna be turning it around soon. I think he's a player worth trying to get right now. And then Thomas Chabat, the window's closing. That average of his is slowly starting to rise, but you still have maybe another week where you can try and get him as a buy low before the window's fully closed. But this is a guy you should definitely be trying to get. He could finish the league as a top 10 defenseman, or finish the year as a top 10 defenseman. And then my last buy low, Toivo Teravainen. He's starting to do better. His average is starting to go up a little bit, and he may be in a couple weeks that average will be back up to where you think it should be. And he's on one of the league's best teams as one of their top offensive players. He's gonna be a guy you'll want to be starting. So I think right now is your chance to try and get him. I don't know, what do you think, Jake? Would you try and get Toivo Teravainen right now?
What do you have his average listed? I mean, what is it? You
I
just
have his he's averaging 3.1 right now.
okay.
Um, and he's getting a bunch of ice time. He's got 12 points in 16 games, so that's not terrible. He's on one of the best teams. I just feel like he's going to start turning it around and get even more. And he plays on the first line, so
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a guy that you'd want to get, and he's on the power play. I would definitely be trying to get him.
Yeah,
But
see if you can.
yeah, Teravainen, he's playing on the first power play too, so he's getting power play time, and that power play is very lethal. And he's going to start picking up more assists and getting more points. I just think this is the time to get him before, people don't want to trade him at all.
Yeah, for sure. Was he like an early pick? I don't know if I've ever even had this guy, so
Yeah, he normally is like a second, third round pick, but last year he was dealing with a bunch of injuries, so he wasn't really much of a factor last year.
mm-hmm.
So I just feel like this is the year where people got him a little later than normal.
Yeah, they got him 15th round, so you don't want to give up like too much. I mean,
But I think he's a buy low because
yeah,
he can be a top, he can be a top 70 player in the league
okay.
as a whole, if he's going right, and he's on that first line, first power play with some superstar players. So
All
I
right,
think
for sure.
that's a guy you'd want to have on your team. And then now we'll break into some sell highs. So I would definitely be selling high on Andrew Mangiapane. He looks like he's having a breakout year, but there's some questions floating around out there in the ether about how
Ether.
about how sustainable it is. So I think he's one of those guys. Just dangle him out there, see what you can get. I mean, if you can get like a very more consistent guy, like maybe try and trade him to try and get Thomas Chabat. I would love that trade.
Okay.
But just dangle him out there, see what you can get. If you have a very deep offense, and there are questions about the sustainability with Mangiapane, and plus the team he's on is not widely regarded as an amazing team. I just dangle him out there, do some big game hunting, see what you can get.
My God, big game
Um,
hunting.
so my next sell high, Poopy Roopy Heinz.
My God,
So
what is that nickname?
I
The
don't
hell
know.
is that from? Oh,
Rhymes
you
with
made that up? Oh
rhymes
my
with
God,
it rhymes with rupee.
I
I
thought you
don't know.
got it somewhere. This is yours. You want to put your claim on that?
I can put my claim on
Yeah,
that for sure.
copyright that.
That's
Jesus.
copywritten, guys.
Oh my
But
God.
anyways, he's had a very slow start to start the year, which was surprising to a lot of people, myself included. Because last year he was very consistent, averaging over 4. Well, he was one of the top centers in the league last year, and he's only like 20 years old. Everybody's like, okay, this is the next superstar guy.
Yeah.
And very slow start to the year. But he went off this week, as you saw. He made our top 5 centers of the week.
Yep.
This is definitely, I think, I think you can now maybe try and trade Heinz if you're worried about his consistency now.
Don't you have
Um,
Heinz?
I had him last year. I don't have him this year.
Oh, okay.
But I think if you have Heinz, that you should try maybe dangling him out there to do some big game hunting, like I've been talking about. But I think you can definitely try and maybe get off him and try and pick up somebody, like try and trade him for somebody a little better. And I think that since he's had a great week, people might be willing to bite on that and just see what you can
Hmm.
do with it.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's one of those guys that he could be a sell high because of this great week he had, but he could also be a buy low if you want to trade for him. Because even with
Okay.
this great week, his average is still lower than what you'd expect it to be. So he's one of those ones that's kind of right in the middle where if you have him, you can try and dangle him out there to get something better. And if you don't have him, he might be a guy you want to trade for. So he's kind of got caught in the middle of all this right now.
Okay, gotcha.
because he is a very young player and there's a ton of upside there. It's just on how worried you are with that bad start he had, because he is still young and not, hasn't had a ton of time in the NHL for us to really gather on if he is going to be consistently great or not. He's still kind of new. So there could be some questions if you have him because of that very slow start. So it's one of the stranger times where a guy can be a sell high and a buy low.
Okay.
And my last sell high, Matt Duchene. This freaking guy screams unsustainable to me. Based on the last 2 years he's had, where he looks like he hasn't been interested in playing hockey. Now all of a sudden, I think he's in a contract year, and maybe it is because he's playing for more money right now. But the last 2 weeks, this guy's been a man on a mission. Which it's good to see him looking like he is interested in the game this year. So. But there are questions on if this is sustainable. I would definitely be dangling him out there, seeing what you can get. And he's playing so good that this is your chance to maybe. This might be a chance you could trade for something crazy, like maybe a Mitch Marner or something. Just or maybe even a Mikko Rantanen. Maybe you could do something like that. Just something insane could give you a great return.
Nobody's giving up Mikko. Come on.
I mean, I don't know. If you look at Duchene's numbers the last 2 weeks, you might.
No one trades Rantanen on 2 weeks, right? Come on.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm going to read you these numbers here, and I want you to tell me. So here's his last 15. So he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Here's his last 15 games. He has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, he looks good as hell, but
19 points in his last 15 games.
Yeah, but you don't trade a superstar.
I mean, is this guy superstar?
No.
He's played 17 games, and he has 19 points. So he started out the year with no points in his first 2 games, and then ever since then has gone off.
I mean, he's had 2 weeks going off, and he's just reached Mikko's average.
I'd say you'd have to pair him. You have to pair another guy with him to a 2-for-1. But I mean, he's averaging 4.5, and maybe somebody would be interested. I'm just saying, you can get the binoculars out. Go big game hunting.
I have to go lower than that, but yeah. What about for Teravainen? Would you trade him for Teravainen?
That would be an interesting one. I would trade him for probably Teravainen, and I would be a 1-for-2 that deal. Get Teravainen and somebody else. Yeah. If I had Matt Duchene, but
yeah, it'd be hard. I don't know. He seems like a guy that you ride him while he's hot.
Yeah.
You don't normally get guys who go over 4 fantasy points average.
Right.
Like, that's hard to get. So it'd be like, if you can't get another guy over 4, and it'd be hard to, like you said, you'd have to do a 2 pairing, 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just ride him, because yeah, like I wouldn't give up Mikko, so I don't think you can go to that tier. So it'd have to be like the tier under Mikko, the guy.
Okay.
Right. I mean, like
maybe
guy
you could get like a David Pastrnak, who's had a slow start and is starting to turn it around.
Sean Couturier is slowed down. So he's in a slump. He's in a slump, but he was averaging over 4.
Right.
Like a couple weeks ago. Now he's down to 3.2. So he's just hit a slump. I mean, try to get a guy that is good like that.
Okay.
Who's slumping, right? I mean,
right. Yeah, no, that's definitely. I mean, you could trade him for Couturier. That could be an interesting one, because I think they're going to have opposite trends here soon. So
yeah, Couturier started out like a 4.5 average for the first month.
Yeah,
and then he's just he's hit his first slump of the year. Everybody has a slump in hockey, especially, but
yeah,
they bounce back. Like the great players bounce back.
Right. So that's my trade targets. Just a little bit of trade talk this morning. No big deal.
No big deal.
Now we're going to talk about our best and worst schedules of the upcoming week. So the best schedules, there's a lot of teams that have this next week that are playing 4 games. So there's a lot of opportunity for some streaming. So we got Anaheim Ducks, Buffalo Sabres, Carolina Hurricanes, Columbus Blue Jackets, Colorado Avalanche, Nashville Predators, Ottawa Senators, the Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins, San Jose Sharks, St. Louis Blues, and the Winnipeg Jets all having 4 games next week. So there's a ton of opportunity to pick up some guys to get you some extra points. And there's a lot of guys also that I'm going to talk about in our Scoop 'em Up on these teams that you can, pick up, and they'll get you'll have 4 games for points. So just be looking at that. And then there's a couple teams that have 3 games, but they have an easy schedule. One of them, the main one being Edmonton Oilers. So they're a pretty safe bet to pick up some bottom 6, like maybe some third line, fourth line, second line guys that might get some points this week because they're playing some bad teams. New York Rangers, Tampa Bay Lightning, Dallas Stars, and Boston Bruins. Those teams have 3 games with some pretty easy schedules. So there's a ton of players on those teams that, guys that are not highly owned but might get some points this week because of the matchups.
Gotcha.
And then the worst schedules with teams with 2 games: Arizona Coyotes, Calgary Flames, Detroit, and Los Angeles Kings.
Okay.
So those teams stay away from this week unless you have some of the star players, and you just got to hold and just deal with a 2-game week. And then 3 games with a hard schedule: Seattle. So they're like my biggest, besides like Yanni Gourde, there's really nobody worth holding from that team. So they're just like my top streaming team in general for this season because they're so bad, and nobody wants to own those players. So there's a ton of stream potential there, but not this week with the schedule that they have and how bad they are. I don't think there's going to be a ton of points this week. So
okay.
Maybe this would be a week that you could maybe dangle Yanni Gourde as a trade out there because he might not do much this week. So maybe this is a time where you tried maybe sell a little bit high on Yanni Gourde and get you some consistency, because there's a ton of guys out there that'll give you the same production as Yanni Gourde. So
okay.
And then so that brings me into my top streaming goalies of the week. So Anthony Stolarz, backup goalie on Anaheim. Jonathan Gibson's been getting like all of the starts, but they haven't had a lot of back-to-backs. So Stolarz is going to get some starts, and it's looking like Anaheim's actually a good team. So I think Stolarz is a very valid streaming goalie option. I'm still getting used to saying Anaheim's a good team. I feel like I'm living in 2014. I don't know what's going on anymore. I feel like I'm in a time loop, but he's going to get a start or 2 this week. The backup goalie on Anaheim might be worth starting. Jesus Christ. And then Martin Jones, he's the backup on the Philadelphia Flyers. They're a good team as well. He's gonna get a start or 2 this week. And then NT Ranta, the backup on Carolina, he's gonna get a start or 2, and on one of the best teams in the league. Definitely try and pick him up if you have a free goalie spot, or if you're of the mentality to, just always stream goalies, and if you do the 0G strategy. This is definitely a guy to pick up for this week then, for that type of strat.
Okay.
And then monitor who the backup is going to be for Colorado this week, because it's not really, they've been giving Kemper like all the starts because they've had a pretty terrible schedule. So far this year, they've had a lot of 2-3 game weeks. They haven't had any back-to-backs. So we don't know who the backup goalie is. So see who they announce as the backup. He's probably going to get a start this week. And then you want to get him in there for Colorado because they have one of the best defenses in the league, so he's not going to have to do too much. He'll get you some easy points. And then lastly, Stuart Skinner on Edmonton. He's going to get a start or two this week. They've been giving him a lot of run last week as the main goalie over Koskinen. He's definitely going to get at least 2 starts this week, I would imagine, with their back-to-back schedules. So I'd be definitely trying to pick up Stuart Skinner. And that's, there's more than one way to skin the cat.
I have 2 more goalies for you.
Okay.
Elias Samsonov, you just talked about him.
Yeah.
Going off this week.
Yes.
And I actually just grabbed him.
Did you now?
I feel like just based on that, he's a must grab. He has no losses. On a very good team. I know the starting guy's hurt, but then .924 save percentage.
Yeah, that's a great save percentage.
And the coach sounds like he could be playing him more now because he's so good right now. Yeah,
so now we've moved on to our new segment called Jake's Assertions. So,
well, it's kind of like just asking you about guys that might not be on your scoop list.
Yeah, so I actually do like Elias Samsonov. I'm glad you brought him up. I definitely was going to add him to my scoops list. I thought that I did. I guess I did not. So, good catch there. I definitely think he's worth picking up right now and possibly a hold because they're giving him a lot of starts and he might take it over from Vanacek, even though they like Vanacek. And at worst, it'll be a 50-50 on a good team. He'll still get you points. You know?
That's what I was thinking.
So,
and Vanacek hasn't had a great year to start.
He definitely has not. So a lot of people were watching Samsonov, and I guess you just pulled the trigger on that, and I think that's a good move.
It's kind of weird that Samsonov's more owned in fantasy than Vanacek. Isn't that weird?
A lot of people have been dropping Vanacek because a lot of people have quick hooks on goalies.
Okay, but Samsonov was still higher. Like he's only up 2.6, and he's at 60, so that means he was still higher. He was at 58. That means, and then Samsonov's at or the other guy. Sorry, how do you say his name?
Vanacek.
He's at 30% owned. That's weird.
Yeah, no, just people have quick hooks on goalies. It's just.
I grabbed him because Sorokin hasn't had many starts. I don't know if they're giving him a breather here this past week, but he had a bad start and then they haven't played him since.
Right.
And I don't even know if they're playing him today. But yeah, no, I just I thought he looked good. And I liked him. I grabbed him last year, actually, before Vanacek took over, because it was kind of the opposite situation last year. Samsonov was the starter, and then Vanacek.
Yeah, but Samsonov was really struggling really bad last year.
Well, when he came back, he was doing pretty good, and then he got hurt. He was out a while, and Vanacek looked great when he took over, so they kept him going. Could be the opposite this year. Who knows?
And I don't know. San Jose, a little bit, not as a little bit like Anaheim is having a bit of a resurgent year, but I definitely don't believe that San Jose is a good team. I think Anaheim could be a good team, but I'm not going to buy into it with San Jose. So I've been kind of
who's the other goalie for the Sharks?
I think he is the starting goalie.
No, but don't they have they obviously have another one because he's got games where he's not playing.
Right.
Looks like it's kind of a split. The past 3 weeks, it looks like a split. Like he's on for 2, so he's the starter, so he's on for 2, and then the other guy's playing 1.
Yeah, it's Alexei Melnichuk.
And he's not good, so I feel like Reimer's a grab. I was thinking him.
It's Aiden Hill. Aiden Hill's the other starter, and he's not doing near as good.
Okay, and what about? So if I was to grab a goalie, and I think you might have brought this guy up already, but Swayman, would I grab Jeremy Swayman or James
No, you're not
Reimer?
going to do Jeremy Swayman because I'm picking him up later in the week. So
Uh,
yeah, that's definitely not one you want to do, Jake. So we
oh
can just
my
move on to
god.
the. Who's your next guy?
No, come on.
Who's your next
Are
guy?
you leaving guys out of the podcast based on who you're gonna grab?
No, I don't talk about Jeremy Swayman because he's the backup, but
Couldn't he take over though? I thought they were talking about him.
he could take over, but I'm not. I don't. He had two back to back. He started a back to back.
The starter's still good.
Linus Ullmark. Swayman's had way better numbers over the last like couple of weeks than Ullmark has. But Ullmark just had a good start yesterday, so I mean I think they're gonna go 50-50.
Okay, so would you rather have the talented Swayman or would you rather have Reimer?
It's not a question to me that I would rather go Swayman because Boston's a much better team than San Jose. Swayman will get you wins. But it is a 50-50.
And do you think he's going to start getting more?
He could. Right now it's a 50-50. They've both started 7 games, so.
Yeah, dude, I'm looking at both right now. I'm pretty sure I'm going to grab one and drop Taves. But
okay. I mean, if you're looking for upside and on a good team, Swayman's the way to go.
Okay.
Reimer, ride him while he's hot, but that could fall off a cliff because he's on a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
I think Swayman gives you more opportunity to get more points because he'll get you more wins, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, I also wouldn't make the move because Zach wants to make the move later in the week for a streamer.
Okay, well, screw you. Wait, you got 4? Don't you have 4 goalies?
I do have 4 goalies, but
so what are you talking
I know
about?
my ways around that.
What, IR? What are you talking about?
I know my ways around the 4 goalies. I'm just kidding.
Way around.
There's no ways around that.
Yeah. So you're giving up on a Fleury then?
No, I'm not giving up on any of my goalies. That's the reason I haven't made the move for Swayman yet, because I like my 4 goalies. But
yeah, I think I'll grab them.
Well, that's just great for you over there.
What's it going to take for Seth Jones, dude?
For Seth Jones?
Nothing. Okay.
What
about
okay, let's take a look at Jake's team over here. What the hell would I take for Seth Jones? He asked the question, so he's coming to the master.
My God.
Definitely Panarin.
You take Panarin?
Panarin and...
And? What do you mean and?
Yeah, Panarin
it's and... Panarin.
Panarin and Cam Fowler would get it done.
Cam Fowler, who's the... Wait, where is he? Oh, the defenseman? I thought you didn't like Anaheim old defenseman.
Yeah, I don't, but you're probably not going to give me any of your other defensemen. Okay, how about Colton Parayko and Artemi Panarin? I might do that.
Who?
Colton Parayko.
Okay. Sick. Yeah, I'd do it.
I don't know. I'm
probably won't
Cam
do it.
Fowler might be a better one.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm probably not going to do it though. So
yeah, you're probably not gonna. Yeah. Okay. So other guys. Sorry to derail. So other guys that I had that I don't think are on your scoop 'em up list. I was just looking at the numbers. This guy, Lawson Cruz.
He is on my scoop 'em up list, but we can talk about him here too.
Oh no, never mind. I didn't see him. So wait on him. Oliver, and then 2 defensemen.
Yeah. Okay. These guys aren't, so we can talk about these 2.
Oliver, Kelinton, and Brandon Mcnabb are both defensemen who have done pretty good this year. 3.3 average and 3.1 average.
Yeah.
Are they grabs in a banger league or half-point banger league? If you need a defenseman, or just
so Kelinton, I've been watching this guy. There's a lot of talk about who's going to get that top power play, that number 1 power play spot on Calgary, because they have good forwards on that power play, but it's just a revolving door usually of defensemen that quarterback it. So I was looking at Kelinton just to see where he kind of lines up, and they're just very consistently playing Rasmus Anderson there, and he's not doing jack shit with it, but they keep putting him out there every game.
Yeah.
Right now, Kelinton is not on even the second power play. So I'm a little hesitant to be picking him up just because he's not on a power play and he's the second pairing. I don't know if there's much there. I think he just had a good week and that might be it. So that's kind of, but I have been watching him.
Okay, for sure.
But if he can ever get on a power play, he'd definitely be worth a pickup then.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just wanted your thoughts real quick. I know they're like very low owned players.
Yes.
But I saw people were grabbing Mcnabb. He's up 9%.
Yeah, and I think that's more of a banger league move. He does get some hits, but I think he's 30. I don't think there's much there for him. I think that there's some younger guys that are going to kind of take over Shea Theodore's minutes.
Okay.
So I'm not super high on Mcnabb. I think there's some other young defensemen that we're going to talk about and scoop them up for Vegas that you might be more willing to add. That will get you some more scoring. But Brandon McNabb's a very physical guy. If you're in a category league looking for some hits, like on a Sunday, he's a guy that you could pick up for streaming to get you some hits if you want to win that category. But yeah, other than that, I don't think he's a guy worth picking up right now.
All right, for sure. Yeah, that's it for me. Sorry, and a lot of guys, but yeah, let's break into your scoops.
Yeah, so scoop them up. Let's do it. So my number one scoop for this week, I'd say number one scoop definitely if you're in a banger league that gets hits and blocks points. Garnett Hathaway. He's only 4% owned, and that's because he's really, really good in a banger leagues, which is not a ton of leagues. But
okay.
He scored 2 goals this week. He's averaging 7 hits per game this week. 21. That means they played 3 games this week. He had 21 hits. That's crazy. Just hits a ton. He's getting a career high time on ice, and he has a career high shooting percentage of 24% right now, which is crazy high when his career average is under 10. I mean, the 24 that he's got going right now has raised it a little bit. So it was, in the 9s percent, which, that's why he's never really a rostered guy throughout his career, because he's not a guy that shoots the puck. He's usually just a guy that goes out there, is sent out there to hit people. But he's looking like a different player this year. I mean, he's flying all over the ice. He is shooting a ton. That is way unsustainable. There's no way that that's going to stay that high, but pick him up and put him in your lineups, especially in a banger league. I mean, it's really the only time you're going to be picking him up. And just continue to deploy him until he crashes back down to earth, which is probably, he's going to fall like a freaking meteor. But get him in your lineups right now and take those points, because it's just, it just got to the point this week where it was so many points that were just on the waiver wire, and I was just like, I want these points, and it's just every day points. Just like it just seems stupid not to pick him up right now. He's the hottest guy available in our league, at least right now.
Okay, nice.
And then Trevor Zegras, he's 21% owned. This is another guy that I was kind of mentioning to you last week, Jake, when we were talking about Troy Terry. I mentioned Trevor Zegras they had 2 top prospects, and Trevor Zegras was the higher ranked prospect over Troy Terry. And both of them starting this year, everybody was excited about both of them. Zegras had a slow start to the year where Troy Terry came out guns a-blazing. But Trevor Zegras is starting to climb up now. He has 5 points in his last 3 games. He's getting more ice time. He's on power play. This could be a great scoop. That could be a season-long hold if he keeps it up. Or at the very least, could be just a streamer while he's on this hot streak. And I don't know. He's a player that not a lot of players right now you get excited about, but this guy's young and scoring. This could be a nice season-long holding move.
Okay, for sure.
And then Robert Thomas, he's 11% owned. He has, this is crazy, he has 16 points in 17 games. Pick him up while he's scoring, and it could be a nice hold. But I don't know, people are just hesitant to pick him up right now. I don't know why he's only 11% owned when he has almost a point per game player, but I think that he could be a nice move.
All right.
And then we have Evgeny Dadanov. He's 50% owned on Vegas. He's getting more ice time with all the crazy injuries they have. He's scoring on a little bit of scoring streak right now. Pick him up as a low-risk streamer and just see what happens with it. Because, I mean, normally he's not a guy that I would recommend picking up. He's definitely had a terrible year last year. But he's getting bumped up in ice time and deployment with the injuries, so he might just be worth a streamer at the moment. And then
sure.
This is a guy that Jake was trying to bring up in Jake's assertions a little bit ago, but
God.
we'll talk about him here. I have him as one of my top scoops. Lawson Krause on the Arizona Coyotes. He's 4% owned. He's the top offensive player on Arizona. And I think especially in banger leagues, he could be a pickup that could be a season-long hold because he's on the power play, and it looks like he's developing a nice chemistry with Jacob Chychrun. The two of them seem to be a nice little dynamic duo on the power play. So I think that could be a little something to watch. That could be a nice little 1-2 for Arizona, and that could be something that can get you some points on the power play, especially. Those are guys you look for. And there's not a ton of first power play center guys out there on the waiver wire that you can get, and this is one of them. And yes, it's on a shite team, but he's on a scoring streak. He gets all that ice time on the power play. I think that this is at least a guy to pick up for a streamer right now.
All right, but yeah, I think might grab him. But yeah, I was already looking at him, and it just seems like a good move.
Yeah. So moving on down the list, Tyler Toffoli, 30% owned. Some dumbass in our league dropped him this week. He was on a cold streak, but just had a 3-point game last night on Saturday. Either bank it that he's figured it out, or just wait another week at your own risk because he could be easily picked up if he has another good game right away.
Okay.
So then these next two guys are two young defensemen on Vegas that I think are better streaming options than Braden McNabb, Jake.
Okay.
So we got Nicholas Hague and Zach Whitecloud, two young defensemen on Vegas. Both of them 3% owned. I think they're both worth a stream, at least for a few weeks. With the Shea Theodore injury, they're going to get a bump up in ice time and get some power play time. So I think they could. These are two young guys that are a little bit more better scoring defensemen that I think will benefit from the Shea Theodore injury.
Gotcha.
And then
all right,
this next one's a very deep league move. I don't think there's a ton of leagues that are going to be picking this guy up, but he did have a great week. Martin Fairberry, he's a defenseman in Washington. He doesn't get any power play time or anything, but he's worth a pickup in a deep banger league because he hits and blocks, and he scored a few points this week. He might be worth a low risk stream if you're just looking for some points to keep you ahead in a close week. So,
all right.
And then next on my list, Brandon Saad. He's only 6% owned. He's normally higher owned than that, but I think people are I think the Brandon Saad train's starting to slow down a little bit. But he's had 3 goals his last 2 games. And at the very least, we all know that Brandon Saad is a very hot and cold guy. And he scores goals in bunches. So you want to get him at a time like this when he's scoring in back-to-back games. This could be like a 2-3 week thing that he puts together. So this could be a low risk stream just to see if he keeps up the scoring. I mean, because he is a guy that will score 10 goals in a 3 week period, and then will go cold for 2 months. So
Yeah.
And then along the same ilk, Connor Sherry. This guy is less than 1% owned. So he's definitely available if you want to, depending on how ballsy you are. But he scored 2 goals his last game, and maybe he's just
deep league.
Yep, if you got balls
Like
of steel,
3.
you're a riverboat gambler. This is going. Maybe just stream to see if he keeps up the scoring. But other than that, at least put him on your watch list.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you have anything to add, Jake, that's it. That's kind of it for me.
Yeah, I feel like
any discussion points?
Evan Bouchard on Edmonton is still a grab. He's only 26.8% owned.
Okay.
And he's 3.5 average.
Evan
and
Bouchard.
I think it's he doesn't get goals. He gets a lot of assists, and I think he might be a banger league guy too, in a way. So that might be why he's lower. But
okay,
he's definitely worth a grab. I mean, he's better than some of my defensemen that are higher owned. So
no, definitely in a banger league, Evan Bouchard is a player that he's getting a ton of hits, and so I mean he's worth holding for sure.
And I grabbed Jesper Bratt while he was hot, and he's still
okay. Well, we did mention him last week as a top scoop, one of my scoops. So I mean, I think that's a good move. I saw you did that.
Yeah, well, you could still mention it. He's only 7.4% owned.
Yeah, so he's definitely a top scoop as well. He's putting the puck in the net. He's putting the biscuit in the basket.
Yeah, he's just like ride him while he's hot.
Yeah, but
that's it for me though.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. Just go find us on all our social medias. We have a lot of social medias. We have Facebook, facebook.com/Garden of Sports Podcast. We have Instagram, instagram.com/Garden of Sports. We got Twitter, twitter.com/capital G, capital O, capital S, capital P, OD 2021. GOS Pod 2021. Twitter.com/GOS Pod 2021.
My God.
Yeah. And then we obviously got our YouTube, which is how you're listening to us right now. And maybe by next week, we'll be on Spotify. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the hope here. I'm going to try to grind out the website today. We'll just keep it basically like we'll launch it, and then it won't have everything we want on there. It'll mostly just have every episode, kind of about us, and like links to all our any way you can follow us or stream us.
Yes.
And then we'll keep, as it's live, we'll keep adding like more information, like stuff we go over in the episodes, list of players and to grab.
Yeah, we're gonna write more articles. We're gonna have some articles up there on stuff. We'll obviously have all our episodes, and then we'll also, that will get us on Spotify. We'll be on Spotify soon, and you'll be able to listen to us on there, and we're really excited for that. So definitely is it going to be gardenofsports.com, Jake?
Yeah, I already purchased the domain.
Okay, so it will be gardenofsports.com. We're finishing that up. It's going to be up and live soon. We're super excited about that, but just, follow us on all our social medias and stay tuned for our news on our website. And with that, thank you all so much for listening, and just, hope there are many wins in all your futures.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone.